Okay, so let's get into this. We're looking at something that feels like a total paradox in biology.
Right. It's this idea of life that seems to just embrace death, or at least what should be death.
Exactly. I mean, you can find a plant that is just completely brown, brittle, curled up. It looks like it's been dead for years.
Maybe decades even.
And then one rain shower comes along, and suddenly, within a few hours, it's green. It's
Ugh.
alive. It's photosynthesizing again,
And what's really fascinating is that this tiny group of plants, there are only about 100 of them known, they basically defy the #1 rule of life on land.
which is that you need water.
You need water. If you lose too much, you die. That's it. So understanding how these plants just hit the pause button is, well, it's some of the most critical research happening right now with climate change.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack that superpower. It's called anhydrobiosis. We want to peel back all the layers, from the big physical changes right down to the sugars inside the cells.
To see how nature has built a blueprint for survival against just impossible odds.
Okay, so for almost every single plant out there, survival is all about keeping water inside. And they are so sensitive to losing it. Even like a super tough desert succulent will die if it loses more than, 15% of its water.
Yeah, around 15%. That's pretty much the biological red line that most plants just cannot cross.
But this is where the resurrection plant just completely rewrites the rules.
Oh, absolutely. The tolerance is it's astonishing. They can handle losing up to 97% of their relative water content.
97%. Just think about that for a second. Almost all the water is gone, and the plant just waits.
It just stops. It decides this is not a good time to be alive and puts everything on hold.
And when the water does come back, the recovery is so fast, it's not this slow, weeks-long process.
No, not at all. Often they can be fully back to their healthy state in just a matter of hours.
So this survival state has a name, right? Anhydrobiosis.
Life without water. But the real challenge for the plant isn't just the absence of water, it's the process of removing it. Desiccation is incredibly violent on a cellular level.
How so?
Well, when water leaves, cell membranes can rupture, proteins and DNA can clump together. It causes catastrophic, irreversible damage.
So how does the plant stop its internal structure from just, turning into dust?
It creates a stabilizing matrix. Scientists call it a glass transition.
A glass transition.
Yeah. Instead of letting its water-filled parts collapse, the plant pumps out huge amounts of protective stuff, mostly specialized sugars, sucrose, and the really crucial one, trehalose.
And these sugars, they just fill in the gaps where the water used to be.
They do. And as the cell dries out, these sugars don't form sharp crystals. They transition into this non-crystalline, solid glass-like state.
A biological glass.
Exactly. It's like turning the liquid inside a balloon into a solid piece of hard candy. This sugar glass physically locks everything in place. The proteins, the membranes.
So nothing can get damaged.
Nothing moves. Metabolism just stops. The plant is in suspended animation, perfectly protected by this internal glass shell, just waiting for water to come back and dissolve it.
That's incredible.
Now, to manage this, there are basically two main strategies we see in these plants. It all comes down to how they handle their chlorophyll.
Their solar panels.
Right. You have the homoeochlorophyllous types, which keep their chlorophyll when they dry out. And then you have the poikilochlorophyllous types, which actually dismantle it completely.
Wait, they get rid of it? That sounds like a huge risk. I mean, that's their entire energy system. Why would a plant deliberately scrap the whole thing?
It's a classic biological trade-off. It's risk versus reward.
Okay.
See, if you keep your chlorophyll during a drought, you risk something called photooxidation. You're absorbing all this sunlight, but you have no water to use that energy for photosynthesis.
So the energy just builds up and becomes toxic?
Yeah. Precisely. It creates free radicals that just shred the cell. So for a plant like Xerophyta humilis, you find it in arid parts of Africa, the choice is clear. Shut down the solar panel completely.
So it saves itself from burning up, but then when the rain finally comes, it has to rebuild that entire system from scratch. That must cost a ton of energy. Doesn't that slow it down?
It adds a cost for sure, but it guarantees the cells survive the dormancy. And the key adaptation, going back to that glass, is how Xerophyta handles its internal structure. The normal water-filled parts are replaced by smaller, more rigid structures packed with those protective sugars and acids.
So the frame itself doesn't collapse.
The framework holds. That allows it to rebuild its chlorophyll quickly and start making energy as soon as water is available.
So we have the chemistry, the cellular trade-offs. And now let's look at the physical transformation, which is just as amazing. And we have to talk about the most iconic one, the spike moss Selaginella lepidophylla.
Yes. The one that's often sold as the false rose of Jericho.
And that's a really crucial detail for you, the listener. We have to be specific here. This is the false rose of Jericho.
Absolutely. The true rose of Jericho is a completely different plant, and here's the key. It's not a resurrection plant. It's a tumbleweed that disperses seeds, but the parent plant doesn't come back to life.
Right. But Selaginella, it's a true biological transformer.
It really is. It lives in the Chihuahuan Desert, so it's brutally dry. When a drought hits, its physical response is immediate. It curls up into this tight, brown, dead-looking ball.
And that curling has a purpose.
A huge one. The outer leaves curl first and really fast to shade the inner parts. This makes sure the inner cells dry out slowly, which gives the chemistry time to produce all those sugars and form that protective glass.
And if the drought just goes on, this is where it really commits to the tumbleweed life.
Correct. The stress actually triggers its roots to just disconnect from the soil. The dry, coiled ball gets picked up by the wind and just tumbles across the desert.
Until it finds water.
Until it finds moisture. Then it dramatically unfolds, sometimes in an hour, and tries to set down new roots. And remember, it reproduces with spores, like a fern, not seeds. That mobility makes it a fantastic pioneer.
Okay, so let's move from the desert plains up into the mountains. There's a plant named for pure tenacity, the Orpheus flower, Haberlia rhodopensis.
A beautiful one. You find it tucked into limestone crevices high up in the mountains of Bulgaria and Greece.
And the name is from Greek mythology, right?
It is. It's named for Orpheus. After he was torn apart, his head supposedly kept singing as it floated down a river. So that name, that story, represents this never-give-up spirit.
And the plant really lives up to it. You can lose up to 90% of its water and still come back.
Yeah.
But there's a price, isn't there?
There is, yes. Haberlia has a more sacrificial strategy. The core of the plant is protected by that sugar glass, but the outer leaves often take heavy, irreversible damage.
So they just die off.
They brown and die. But the inner crown, the central growing point, stays perfectly viable. So when the rains return, it just grows a whole new set of leaves from that protected core.
Speaking of coming back from the dead, let's talk about one of the longest sleepers of all. The resurrection fern, Cleopeltis polypodioides.
A classic. Native to North and Central America.
And I love that it's an epiphyte. It's an air plant. It gets everything it needs from the air and rain, not from the tree it's clinging to.
That lifestyle means it has to be desiccation tolerant. It has no choice. When it dries out, the fronds curl up tight and turn this gray-brown color. It looks exactly like a piece of dead, shriveled junk on the side of an oak tree.
And the potential dormancy period is just staggering. It can handle that 97% water loss, and scientists estimate it could stay in that desiccated state for over a century.
It's an almost unimaginable length of time for a complex plant. I mean, we're talking about suspended animation that spans human generations.
The sources say it's based on lab tests of viability combined with field observations. So while no one has sat and watched one fern for 100 years, the cellular machinery is demonstrably capable of it.
That's a great clarification. It really pushes the boundaries of what we think of as a life's timeline. But the resurrection fern has one more just amazing twist to its story.
It does. It went to space.
It's the first fern in space. In 1997, it was taken aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery.
And scientists wanted to know, would zero gravity and high-speed orbit mess with its ability to revive?
And the results were clear. It was just as good at reviving after being completely dehydrated while circling the Earth.
It proved that the protective mechanism is so fundamental, so self-contained, that even the stress of space travel doesn't stop it.
It truly earned its nickname, the space zombie.
So we've gone through the chemistry, the strategies, the incredible case studies, from the Orpheus flower to the space zombie fern. Let's pivot now to the big question. So what? What does this all mean for us? Because this is way more than just a biological curiosity.
This research is absolutely foundational for our future. Scientists are, as you can imagine, intensely focused on cracking the genetic code behind this ability.
The idea is, if we can figure out which genes kickstart the production of those protective sugars, like trehalose,
we could potentially transfer that ability into our staple food crops.
So we're not just talking about making a slightly tougher type of corn. This is about real genetic hacking, to let a crop that normally dies after 15% water loss survive, say 50 or 60%.
Exactly. The focus is on modifying the pathways that create these protective compounds. Many of our major crops simply don't have the genes to make the sugars needed to stabilize their cells when they dry out. This work is all about food stability.
And for you, the listener, this is where it really hits home. As the climate gets hotter and drier, this research is a potential pathway to ensuring we can grow food in parts of the world that are becoming more arid. It's about future-proofing our agriculture.
It is, but there's a final reality check we have to add. As tough as these plants are, they can't stay dormant forever.
Right. They aren't truly immortal.
No, that dormant state still uses up a tiny, tiny bit of energy for basic repairs. And eventually, without any water to replenish those stores, even a resurrection plant will finally shrivel and die for good.
Still, the sheer wonder of it all, the idea that a plant can sleep for a century, looking like a piece of dead matter, and wake up just because of a rain shower, it really makes you reconsider what death means. Sometimes it's not an end, it's just a very long pause.
Which leaves us with a final thought. If these plants evolved a way to use sugar glass to pause their own timelines for a century, what does that tell us about life's timeline itself? What other long-term dormant life forms might be out there just waiting for the right conditions to return and, well, to surprise us with their own resurrection?